General Khan's situation has gone from bad to worse after evidence leaders at the Madlanga Commission presented leaked WhatsApp messages that allege to show his private dealings. According to the evidence leaders, the WhatsApp chats were between General Khan and Mo Syed, a Carnilinx director, regarding a PRE tender for SAPS during COVID-19. On January 12, 2021, Syed allegedly asked, "Who can I speak to get contract to supply SAPS with masks with SAPS logo?" Khan is said to have replied, "Send me samples and prices, please ASAP. I'm gonna see someone tomorrow night who is the possible guy to make it happen." Syed then sent a price list for gloves, masks, caps, and shoe covers, and Khan confirmed receiving samples. On May 18, 2021, Syed followed up, and Khan reportedly asked if he was registered on the Central Supplier Database, CSD. The evidence leaders told the commission the chats indicate Khan was facilitating Syed's access to a SAPS tender. Important note, these are allegations and evidence presented at the Madlanga Commission. The WhatsApp messages have not been independently verified, and all individuals are presumed innocent unless proven otherwise through due process. Welcome back to Mzansi News Trend. As always, kindly subscribe to this channel, like and share this video. Grab your popcorn, sit and relax, because today's going to be a long day. Kanjal, show us the bombshell.
So it's at 83, but at page 98 of the settlement agreement, the date of signature is 27 October 2020, and it was signed by the directors. Of Carnilinx and two of the directors and a SARS representative. And that agreement is, really what it does in a nutshell is it records SARS's position and view that the cigarettes, that cigarettes manufactured by Carnilinx were presented on paper as having been moved and exported lawfully, but that there were no documents to prove a lawful export. So the effect was that SARS treated the cigarettes as having been diverted into South Africa without customs duties, VAT, etc. being paid.
Mr. Sim, I think it's only right, perhaps fair, that you also put on record paragraph 1.1.3 of that settlement agreement. It mentions two specific individuals against whom this debt is raised, and therefore not everybody is a director or shareholder.
Yes, Commissioner Bloy, it says that the amount in dispute means the debt raised by SARS against Carnilinx, the company, of which Mr. Mazzotti, Mr. Phillips, and Mr. Sayed are directors. So it's against the company as well as Phillips and Mazzotti in their personal capacities.
Thank you.
The amount in dispute is about 31.5 million, but the settlement agreement concluded on basis of 25 million and something. So those are, that is the factual basis of the allegations of the conduct of Carnilinx. And then the directors who are engaged in, in that unlawful conduct. The allegations, the admissions in the affidavit of fraud and corruption, we have no knowledge of anything further coming of it, whether there were any charges or whether there was any action that was taken. It's not within SARS jurisdiction to follow up on those, but we don't know if it was referred for any purposes. So we don't have knowledge on that.
Can I again just check in that letter, the submission, if you just bear with me, there is somewhere, there's a paragraph where Mr. Mazzotti implores us to have reference to the original affidavit. Sorry, I had highlighted it. I had highlighted where he asks us to have regard to the original document or affidavit. And I
think it's paragraph 34.
Hold on.
To place reliance on primary evidence properly before it.
Yeah. And you have said that you have received this affidavit from SARS. It's a copy, if we can just confirm for the record, and you've not been offered the original by Mr. Mazzotti.
No, we were not offered this. So the letter that we received last night points out, I mean, it's signed by Mr. Mazzotti.
Yes.
He points out that what we rely on are media reports, the Ipsos study, etc., which is secondary information, and it's not based on, and he says that we are unable to tell whether the quotations are accurate or not, because it's not based on the affidavit itself. But the affidavit was his own affidavit, so he could have placed it before the commission. It wasn't placed before the commission, but as it happened, we had already requested this from SARS. We received a copy from SARS, Commissioner Beloy, and that's the copy that I read out.
Thank you.
I got the impression he was saying he no longer has a copy, so he's not sure whether what is being put up mirrors what is set out in the affidavit.
Is that what was, is that?
No, that's how I understand it, because
maybe he has a copy and not the original. I don't know. All I know is it wasn't offered to us. So, Chair, I mean, all of this is again really just prefacing us now getting into the content of the tenders and the significance of Mr. Mo Sayed and the chat between General Khan and Mo Sayed. And it's not just in relation to his links with the company and his involvement in this conduct in the company, but also other allegations that have been made in the media for some time. And we also detail that in the answering affidavit. It was something that, even Mr. Shongwe referred to when he was here. Those are allegations. There's, again, no charges that we are aware of that have been brought against Mr. Sayed, for example, in relation to the allegation that he was involved in the hit against the doctor, Mr. Munshi. But they're allegations. And the allegations of other sorts of cover-ups, I'm not going to go any further into that. The point is, it's a matter of public record that these allegations are swirling, and I have nothing further to say on it. In that context, I now would like to turn to the WhatsApp conversation. And for that purpose, Chair, we provided a core bundle because it's not even the full version, but the bigger version is about 6,812 pages of WhatsApp conversations. The context is important. So all of those pages are relevant because it provides a context. But for the purposes of the particular aspects of the chat that I'm going to go to, we prepared a smaller core bundle. It may be that we need to exit the core bundle and look at certain other pages, maybe a little bit before the page in the core bundle, a little after, in which case we will alert you, and Chair, you'll have to go there electronically because we didn't print out the 6,800 pages. But I'm confident we'll manage this.
We put away the two files that we were working from.
That's correct, Commissioner Beloy. Now all you will have is the core bundle. This chat. And I've separated out the tenders because there's more than one engagement on corrupting and facilitating an improper tender. They fall under different headings. The first one I would like to deal with is the PPE tender, the protective equipment, personal protective equipment. It was during the time of COVID, and as we know, there was a flurry of activity to tender for provision of protective equipment by several companies. The first exchange, it begins on 12 January 2021.
Page
5695. Sorry, is that in volume 2?
Do we put away file 1 so long?
Yes, Chair.
Okay.
Commissioners, there are several devices that were seized from General Khan on the 10th of May. In these series of chats, we're going to be looking at the conversations, the WhatsApp conversations only, not other parts of the devices that come from an iPhone 8 and from an iPhone 11. The bulk of what I'm going to go through is in the iPhone 11. And this is a chat between General Khan and Mr. Mo Sayed. And it begins at the top of 5695. And what it begins with is Mr. Sayed saying, who can I speak to get contract to supply SAPS with masks with SAPS logo I'm making upstairs, need to sell? The response from General Khan, I don't think I mentioned the date. This is 12 January 2021, and it's at 10:56 in the morning. At 11:06 on the same day, General Khan says, send me samples and prices, please, ASAP. I'm going to see someone tomorrow night who is the possible guy to make it happen. That's responded to as by Mr. Sayed, who says, perfect. And General Khan says, don't forget my birthday present, etc. On page 5696, so the next page, at the top of the page, Mr. Sayed sends General Khan the PPE price lists, and that is contained in the annexure bundle. It's annexures to WhatsApp chats, and it's just one file. And in that bundle, so Chair, in these chats, there are documents that are attached, etc., voice notes. And so that's what this annexure bundle is about. Page 147 is where you'll see the price list that is contained on page 5696. So you'll see on page 147 that it is gloves, masks.
Is it a conscious decision not to fly it?
No, Chair.
Oh.
Chair, you'll see that it's gloves and masks and caps and shoe covers. And the prices are to the right-hand side. And on the same page, 5696, General Khan says, salams bro, I got the samples. And then if we move forward,
I suppose it would be for General Khan to explain what he meant when he says, I got the samples. But this seems to be a reference to something different from the price list, that the samples themselves would have been what he's referring to.
I think it is different, Commissioner Beloy, because when you have regard to the chat we went to before, he said, send me the samples and price list. This is the price list. I think the samples might have been sent physically, obviously. So he's reporting that he received the samples. I can only put two and two together there.
They came with the birthday present. They were not the birthday present.
The birthday present was a separate package.
Yes.
Thank you.
So this begins then in January 2021. But the next chat I'd like to take the Commission to is on 18 May 2021, where, so as you'll recall in the earlier chat, General Khan says there's somebody I'm going to be seeing tomorrow or whenever to assist with this. So on 18 May 2021, and that's page 5899, at the top of the page, Mr. Sayed says, Brew, let me know what the procurement for SAPS say for the masks. And General Khan responds, are you on CSD? Mr. Sayed says, what's that? Now, we do know that the CSD is a Central Supplier Database, and we don't know what further communication took place to assist Mr. Sayed to get onto the Central Supplier Database. But that takes place in May. The next exchange on this tender takes place on the 4th of June, 2021. So we can just take this. And that's at page 6025. To be provided to me, but I don't have it.
So I will only read that Major General Khan is an adult male, head of operational intelligence support at Crime Intelligence at the South African Police Services, and he holds the rank of Major General since 1 September 2017. I will pause there.
And I will just correct the Major General and say it's a service singular. It's a South African Police Service. It's never service. It's not with SAPS. Thank you. It may appear unimportant, but it's actually very important.
Noted, Chair. Thank you for that, Commissioner Khumalo. So, Chair, the first topic is the question of the tenders. And I would like to clarify that what the purpose of us going here is. It's not a roving inquiry into ordinary procurement irregularities or garden variety tender fraud. It's directed at whether a SAPS officer, a crime intelligence officer, a senior member of the service was a conduit for private, commercial, or criminal interests. And whether they were able to gain access or influence or corrupt or compromise law enforcement structures. As such, it falls squarely within the terms of reference of this commission. So that's the approach and the framing that I'd like the commissioners to bear in mind as we enter the discussion on the tenders. The first set of tenders relate to a gentleman by the name of Mr. Mo Sayed, and he is a director of a company called Carnilinx. And Chair, I'm going to read the submission that they have provided to us. They provided it last night, and I think it's important in all fairness to read it into the record. And I'd like you, please, to have a look at page 129 of the answering affidavit before I do so.
What's the file marked on the spine?
Urgent application, answering papers, file 1 of 2. This is relevant because when I read out the submission, you'll see it's partly a response to what the Commission placed in its answering papers. And in that section on page 129, in paragraph 14, we say that there have been consistent allegations that Carnilinx is engaged in illegal tobacco trading.
Maybe, sorry, Ms. Hassan, maybe for the record, you should say who deposed to the affidavit. If it wasn't protected information.
Who deposed to the answering affidavit? As luck would have it, my copy doesn't have the signature on it. This is, in fact, if I'm correct, it would be our investigator, Mr. Tsepo Nyatlo, who deposed to this. And this was based on his investigations, and there are annexures that support the contents of the paragraphs. But this paragraph, where it says for over a decade there have been consistent allegations that Carnilinx is engaged in illegal tobacco trading, points us to several pieces of documentation. The first you'll see in 14.1 are several media reports. And I'm not going to go there. It shows that the allegations had been widely published and in some detail. In 14.2, there are 2 further documents that are attached. One is a media statement by the South African Tobacco Transformation Alliance, and the other is an Ipsos study. Now, this is not the entire basis upon which we make these allegations, and I'll explain why. But I'm going to go to the Carnilinx submission because it's in response to this that they provide the submission. And let me go right there. Chair,
were they invited to make this submission?
They were not invited to make the submission. It's a voluntary submission, and it'll be apparent when I read this, the context in which they do make it. And as I said, Chair, I think given that I am going to go in some detail through the chat, it's important that their version is placed on record before I do so. Sorry, Chair. Okay, let me begin. So, Chair, the submission is signed by Mr. Adriano Mazzotti, and it was provided to the Commission yesterday evening. If I start at paragraph 1, These submissions are made voluntarily by Carnilinx Pty Limited. Carnilinx. Carnilinx has not been issued with a notice by the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into Criminality, Political Interference and Corruption in the Criminal Justice System, the Commission, nor has it been requested or directed to provide evidence or submissions. The company nevertheless considers it appropriate in the interests of fairness and to assist the Commission in the proper discharge of its mandate to place certain relevant facts before it. Carnilinx has become aware that allegations concerning the company appear in the affidavit deposed to by the Commission's investigator, Tsepo Nyatlo, as well as in the Rule 3 notice issued to one of its directors, Mohammed Sayed, in his personal capacity. Although the Rule 3 notice is directed exclusively to Sayed and not to Carnilinx, the company is concerned that allegations affecting its business, reputation, and commercial standing may ultimately be considered without the benefit of Carnilinx's own explanation and the broader factual and regulatory context within which those allegations arise. Carnilinx accordingly tenders these submissions voluntarily. It does so not to challenge the Commission's mandate, nor to relitigate historical regulatory matters with the South African Revenue Service, but to assist the Commission by placing before it a balanced account of the company's history, regulatory engagement, and present position. Carnilinx supports the Commission's constitutional mandate to investigate criminality, corruption, and political interference within the criminal justice system. It has no interest in shielding unlawful conduct by any person or entity and welcomes any lawful process that advances accountability, transparency, and the rule of law. At the same time, Carnilinx respectfully submits that findings affecting the reputation of any corporate entity should be based upon credible, independently verifiable evidence and should distinguish carefully between historical regulatory defaults, historical conduct voluntarily disclosed pursuant to Chapter 16 of the Tax Administration Act, unresolved tax disputes being determined through statutory mechanisms, allegations made by competitors or industry participants, media reports and public commentary, industry-sponsored reports, and evidence capable of establishing present-day unlawful conduct. It is against that background that Carnilinx respectfully places the following facts before the Commission. Carnilinx is a South African cigarette manufacturer duly incorporated in accordance with the laws of the Republic. Carnilinx was established in May 2011 and has for approximately 15 years operated within one of the most comprehensively regulated industries in South Africa. During that period, it has grown into an established South African manufacturer operating under licenses issued by the South African Revenue Service, investing substantially in local manufacturing capacity and contributing meaningfully to the South African economy. Carnilinx is the holder of a valid cigarette manufacturing license issued by SARS in terms of the Custom and Excise Act, copy of which is attached, marked A for your reference. The company operates under that license and remains subject to continuous regulatory oversight by SARS. The manufacture of tobacco products is governed by an extensive legislative and regulatory framework, including licensing requirements, excise controls, customs supervision, record-keeping obligations, inspections, audits, and enforcement powers administered by SARS. Carnilinx conducts its business within that statutory framework. Carnilinx is a South African taxpayer and has throughout its existence engaged with SARS as the regulator responsible for the administration of the customs and excise regime applicable to licensed tobacco manufacturers. In this regard, we annex here to Carnilinx's tax compliance certificate marked B. Carnilinx contributes to the South African economy through investment in manufacturing infrastructure, the payment of taxes, and the creation of sustainable employment opportunities. The company directly employs approximately 100 South Africans and supports many additional livelihoods throughout its value chain, including tobacco merchants, transport operators, logistic providers, warehousing businesses, packaging suppliers, distributors, and retailers. Over the course of its operations, Carnilinx has invested substantially in manufacturing facilities, plant, equipment, and distribution infrastructure within South Africa. Carnilinx is also a member of the Fair Trade Independent Tobacco Association, an association representing independent tobacco manufacturers and advocating for lawful competition, effective regulation, and meaningful measures to combat illicit trade. Like every legitimate participant in the regulated tobacco industry, Carnilinx has a direct commercial interest in ensuring that illicit trade is effectively addressed. Illicit trade undermines compliant manufacturers, deprives the fiscus of significant revenue, and distorts lawful competition. Under the heading of historical regulatory matters, considerable reliance has been placed in the public domain and more recently in the affidavit deposed to by the Commission's investigator upon an affidavit deposed to by Carnilinx Director Adriano Mazzotti on 6 May 2014. Carnilinx does not seek to distance itself from the existence of that affidavit or from the fact that it contains admissions concerning historical conduct. Carnilinx respectfully submits, however, that the affidavit cannot properly be understood unless it is considered within the statutory and factual context in which it was prepared. During 2014, Carnilinx engaged with SARS in a comprehensive disclosure process concerning historical tax matters, with the objective of making full disclosure concerning historical tax compliance and seeking to regularize its tax affairs under the applicable tax legislation administered by SARS, including the Tax Administration Act, Customs and Excise Act, the Value Added Tax Act, the Income Tax Act, and any other legislation applicable to the matters under consideration. Adriano Mazzotti, in his capacity as director of Carnilinx, deposed to an affidavit. Carnilinx and SARS subsequently adopted differing positions concerning aspects of that engagement and its outcome. Carnilinx does not consider it necessary or appropriate for this commission to determine those issues. They properly fall within the statutory framework governing the administration of tax legislation and the relationship between a taxpayer and the revenue authority. For present purposes, what is material is that the affidavit was prepared in the context of Carnilinx's engagement with SARS concerning historical tax compliance and for the purposes of that disclosure process. The affidavit was intended to form part of a confidential engagement between Carnilinx and SARS. At some stage thereafter, information purporting to originate from that affidavit entered the public domain without Carnilinx's knowledge or authority. Carnilinx is not in possession of the versions presently relied upon or quoted by various media organizations and is accordingly unable to verify their authenticity, completeness, or accuracy. Nor have the affidavits relied upon in media reports or the versions presently circulating publicly been published in full. Carnilinx is therefore unable to determine whether quotations attributed to the affidavit accurately reflect the original document, whether they have been reproduced completely or whether they have been presented out of context. Carnilinx further notes that the aspects of the media reporting concerning Carnilinx, Mazzotti, and the historical tax affairs have previously been found by the press ombudsman to have been inaccurate. The Commission is therefore respectfully requested to approach media reports concerning these matters with appropriate caution and to place reliance upon primary evidence properly before it. Carnilinx accordingly submits that any assessment of the affidavit should be undertaken only with reference to the original document, its statutory and factual context, and the evidence properly before the Commission, and not by reference to excerpts, summaries, and characterizations appearing in media reports or public commentary. The affidavit demonstrates that Carnilinx engaged with SARS concerning historical tax matters. It does not, without more, establish that Carnilinx presently conducts its affairs unlawfully or forms part of any alleged criminal enterprise. The Commission is therefore respectfully requested to distinguish between historical regulatory engagement ongoing tax administration processes and allegations of present-day criminality. Under the heading Carnilinx's present regulatory position,